Ah, there it goes on. Anyway, camera's a little buggy. Anyway, response video to, well, reaction video to the Modern Mystic, and do the laughing thing. His last three videos have been so ludicrous. Like he gets anything, he gets nothing. Oh, it's so funny. You gotta go watch his silly videos. Don't really waste your time. Incredibly content poor. So he thinks the whole argument's about people coming to steal his coffee mug. When we talk about the economic system and how it functions, and he doesn't understand the concept of fairness at all. What do you mean fairness? Fairness to workers and people who made a valuable contributions and people who really make things happen. Why should we have to be fair to them? That's silly. The only time fairness even comes into his head is in this idea that, oh, it's just terribly, terribly unfair to have a progressive tax rate. And that was the only good thing the government ever did, was to lower taxes on the obscenely wealthy. And yeah, because that was fair. It was fair to have lower taxes on the obscenely wealthy. To tax labor higher than you tax income derived from ownership, from interest. So somebody who sits on a couch and collects income from their ownership as in the form of interest, that income should be taxed much, much lower than somebody who goes out and does industrious work. And that's when fairness comes into it. And that's what he calls fairness. He doesn't know what the word fairness means, yet when he applies the word, that's what he means. It's that it's just terribly unfair, to try to do anything to, level the boat so the big fatties at one end don't sink the damn thing. So I don't know. There's so many ways to go at this. And he's talking now about how to communicate, and his commenters aren't communicating properly because their first and third sentences are really brilliant, but their second sentence isn't brilliant enough, and blah, 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 blah. What a pile of horse shit. He doesn't deal with any of the arguments that lie explicitly in the statements. Instead, he talks about how they're arguing. Yeah, and so maybe that works, especially when you're preaching to a choir of morons. But whether it works or not, it's irrelevant to me. I give no points for style, actually. Or try not to. Even that, in his last video, was talking about class and how people are in a different class when they have a job and they're a judge, or when they're this. They're not supposed to be, though. That's the whole fucking point. Okay, you can exist in a class, but the truth is still the same. So the real having class should really mean is having more integrity, not less integrity. That's the thing we're after here, aren't we? Is integrity of the system in terms of how it provides for all of our subsistences. And that would include fairness. I mean, you can't have a game that has any integrity if there's no fairness in the game. No one's going to go. Again, I mean, I'm going to use the analogy because it just fits too well. Everything we touch, we try to engineer it so it take the friction out of it, take the mess out of it, take the slop out of it to get to the end goal. And as long as we define the end goal as creating the most productivity as we can out of the human race, and to figure out a way of creating incentives and distributing the incentive carrots as to get the most energy. You put the least gasoline in to get the most work out without being abusive, right? I mean, that's got to be the game here, isn't it? That's got to be what we're trying to engineer. Any rational human being, that's got to be their objective. And does this free market bullshit get you that? Or does it get you squandered investment, silly investments? So the bottom line is we got all this huge debt because we gave huge tax breaks to the richest people in the world so they could go buy yachts and bonds and stocks and all that kind of crap. And all that investment, in my opinion, was completely wasted. And if we didn't do that, interest rates were low for the last 30 years, but they would have been even lower if we didn't borrow that money. That's just a fact. You can't unravel that fact in any way. I mean, there's no way interest rates would have been higher if we borrowed less money. So there would have been more capital available for reasonable investments in something good besides somebody's indulgences. Self-indulgence, Lamborghinis and yachts and all that other crap. This false efforts and false work and pyramid building. There would have been, we would have had less pyramid building and more canal building. That would have been the difference if we didn't borrow all that money and instead tax the rich fuckers proportionally to their comfort, and to proportional to their actual functional contribution as ass sitters collecting interest. So anyway, fairness is the key word here. If somebody doesn't have a concept of fairness, and Nick does, but he's just a liar, right? I mean, that's all you could call him. I mean, what, he doesn't know when he said the word it has a definition or it's definable, and he thinks it's definable when it comes to some IOU written 5,000 years ago by some rich bastard says, I own this, I'm entitled to this, and now my prodigy forever and ever shall be owners. And he thinks that's fair, you know, and he thinks it'd be completely unfair to do something to break that insane chain that's around the neck of the human race. So yeah, he has a concept of fairness. It's just a shitty one, an absolutely depraved, rotten, pustuous, disgusting, moronic, simple-minded. Yeah, he's simple-minded on the subject of fairness. Purely simple-minded. He's just going by, well, this is the way it is, so we don't change anything. That's sort of how he's thinking, that myopically, that juvenilely. And at the same time, you know, with pure preposterous duplicity at the same time, talking about, well, what will the new world look like after the crash? You know, are people going to step back into that slop? I'm going to argue I don't think so. Who knows? It just depends on how moronic the morons are who win the wars, I guess. But yeah, I mean, look, this whole nepotism thing doesn't go anywhere. Nick's all this, you know, does all this philosophy talk. There's no I, there's no me, there's none of this stuff. But apparently, you know, he's really bought into the idea of this genetic heritage thing, I suppose, or like there's some sort of rational or reasonable connection. And I guess if he had a kid, he would think his kid is better than everybody else's kid, and you know, should somehow start the race from the advantageous position, and you know, not have to play the game fairly. Yeah, he should have a cheat. He would find an excuse for the cheat, and then he'd sit there and you know, make some argument from possession. Well, I own now, so obviously I deserve it because I own. And that's all. Once you own, it's all you need. You have the IOU. It doesn't matter how it was acquired. Doesn't matter whose signature is on it. You own it. You deserve it. That's how stupid his logic is. Well, anyway, at the end of this video, I will play a clip from his video just demonstrating this fairness thing. Hopefully, I'll play enough of it. I mean, I really don't want to play too much of it. It's just inane and drags on and is silly. It's just silly to have an argument where you're going to defend your preposterous exaggeration. You know, like people are going to come for your teacup. Like this whole conversation is about your ability to own your teacup. No one's arguing with your ability to own your teacup. What we're arguing about is how should ownership be apportioned, and should it just be given, okay, without merit, without earning. And I would argue people should be able to own, but in a sense they have to sell back through a mechanism that ensures that fairness. So that's how the game should be engineered. That, like, say you own your house and you want to keep your house up because you want to retain its value, but in the end you're going to sell it, let's say, to the government, not to some other guy. You're going to sell it to the government. So you can't transfer it to anybody else, but it has to go through some agency, okay, and you'll get your value for it. You'll get your whole value for it, but your kids are going to have to repurchase it. They're not going to be able to just inherit it. Let's say over $1 million. Again, let's just talk in rational terms. Okay, so you can have, how many teacups can you have for $1 million? We'll let you have $1 million head starts and cheats, okay? But anything over that is, yeah, bullshit. No, okay? You're going to have to buy it back. You're going to have to repurchase it like everybody else. This is just such, I mean, to even have to argue this is kind of silly. Here's this most important game in terms of what humans can be involved in. This is the big game. This is bigger than the Super Bowl and bigger than the masters of cricket and bigger than the international, run back and forth and score no points soccer match. Yeah, this is a really big fucking game. And so here we have the biggest game, and we have decided that we're not going to have referees or rules and anything. We're just going to say whoever's the biggest wins. Yes, that's simple. Whoever kicks the other guy in the balls first wins. Um, and you can even win if you're in the stands sitting on your ass. Because all you have to do is have the right pieces of paper in your hand, the right ownership tickets. And yeah, you win the match. Yay! And you don't have to do a damn thing. Just sit on the damn bench. Because your grandfather has a ticket that says he owns, player number 7. Um, it's just an insane way to organize and maximize the efficiency of the game. So again, I'll keep emphasizing that. Maybe I should write a board game that illustrates the difference between these two worlds Nick and I would create in terms of fairness and how the game would be played. And just to make it clearer, because I do have that game I wrote years ago. Anyway, sort of a Monopoly board game kind of format. And but anyway, that's a sidetrack. But that's where we've got to be focused on. That's what we're doing here. We're engineering a game. So if you're going to invent a game tomorrow to be played, and we're going to call it economics, world economics. Yeah, this is what you're just trying to define. You're trying to figure out how do you make this thing go round, function so the most number of players lose the least, or however you want to define it. So you maximize this equation between human comfort and human productivity. And you certainly don't maximize it by paying people to sit on their ass. That's just plain fucking stupid. So any game that has that scenario in it is really, really dumb. And any game that would sit there and give people tokens right off the start, based on somebody's past performance, well, that already looks pretty. I mean, it's a cheat, right? Is there any other word for that than a weaselly, wimpy? Come up with all the derogatory terms. Those F words, all those different words you could use to describe something that's just scurvy and scuzzy and cowardly. That's what he's advocating. That cowards should win. The weak should win. The cheaters should win. All the dregs of fucking goddamn small-mindedness should have huge advantages in the game because he has an affection for that scuzzy, putrid, pus-filled dick. And it really is disgusting. It's just so obvious. Like I said, you don't have to think very hard. And I've used this analogy before, but it fits, and no one's come up with a rational argument against it. If we were going to have a little town, and we were going to have a little three-legged race in the town square, and we invited all the little kiddies to come show up, and then we said to all the little kids, well, this is the way it works, okay? Depending on who your family is, all right, we're going to decide how far up the track you start. That's how we're going to run the race. And some people are going to be so far, they're going to have so many merit tokens built out of somebody else's past performance, that, they're going to be, 3 inches from the finish line. And, then we're going to have the pretense like there's going to be a race. Don't worry, there'll be a race. Yes, you're certainly going to lose the race. There's just no doubt about it because, you got a huge disadvantage. And it's only going to be through some fluky miracle, like you step on a 1943 landmine on the track and it blows you over the finish line. It's only through some preposterous mechanism are you ever going to have a chance of winning. So we're going to play this game, and then we're going to have the pretense of it, and the expectation is that all these little dumb kids are going to fall for it. Well, I'm saying a lot of them are not going to fall for it. They're going to start saying, "Why the fuck should I invest in this?" I'm going to start building my flaming pickup truck. It's ludicrous. I mean, we should let Mark McGwire's son play professional baseball just because he's Mark McGwire's son, okay? He shouldn't have to have any skills whatsoever. We'll just give him the ownership, give him the power to control the investment that will be made in the human race, and it's all good and fine and great. That's the way we should decide who's a professional baseball player. It's merely based on genetics. That's right. So if somebody played it in the past in your family, you get a free ticket into the professional leagues and can be a sports hero, even if you can't play fucking baseball. Yeah, and everybody will come and still watch that game. They'll all say, yeah, this all makes sense. Yeah, I can't wait. I can't wait to buy my tickets to this farce. Yeah, so it's just a joke. But not to know, not to have read even 4 or 5 books in your life, even a Dr. Seuss book, and not to be able to have a concept of the word fairness. To talk about fairness as if it's some sort of thing that just, oh, that's way too obtuse and bizarre. Fairness as an idea, as a principle? Oh, fuck that. Who could possibly come up with a definition of that? The contest isn't that complicated. So it's just so stupid. So again, it's these people will just keep trying to paint it. Nick is just, he's just so cliche politician now. Every single time you talk about doing anything to regulate the rich, you're trying to steal his coffee cup. You're stealing his property rights. Just perfectly Rush Limbaugh kind of moron he's become. Simplistic to the core. He ought to change his name to Ron Paul Mystic. I mean, god damn. So dumb. Why'd you give up on evolution too next, Nick? Yeah, silly idea, silly concept. No merit in evidence. But it's just this whole, like, again, he'll never get he'll never deal with the core issue, which is the fact that we preposterously undertax income from lazy ass sitting ownership compared to work, and that is, we would have had another 100 years of fuck around time, before this whole thing crashed, if we didn't play that stupid game. I mean, that just assured the disaster. So it's just so stupid. And again, and then it's just, somebody brought up the class thing and the fact that behind every great fortune is a great crime, he concedes these points in some sort of, oh yeah, well that's a little trite talk, but yes, it may be accurate, but it's I'm not really paying that much attention. Again, he just doesn't get the idea that this is about control. It's not about possessions. If possession was harmless, there would be no issue here. It's about control, and control is how things interact and they function in the world. And when a bunch of assholes have control of investment capital, you will have asshole-ish investments. You will have a world that looks like shit because they will invest not in the human race, not in social productivity, not in what we need, want, desire, or ambition to have. They will invest in their selfish indulgences and their schemes to get rich quicker. Richer quicker. Get richer quicker. And that's all you'll get. It'll be crap. It'll be shit. I've made these arguments before, and like I said, there's never been a rational argument undoing the fact that nepotism as an economic policy, as a fundamental structure of the economic system, is fucking retarded. It is so fucking juvenile. It is so unintellectual. It is so unintelligent, even at its base level. You might as well just say, let's build the economy on bigotry and prejudice. Yay! Brilliant idea. I mean, it's just humiliatingly fucktarded, stupid, simple-minded, laughable. It's really laughable as a concept. It's laughable retards these people are. So anyway, we'll play the end of this stupid Nick video. I'll have to wait for it to buffer, damn it. No, I don't.
Hello, YouTube and the website people.
12 minutes, so we'll go
tricky video. This
9 minutes in. All right.
A flourishing enough economy that Ella would have got back this, that, and the other that the government promised her, and everything would have been fine. But it's, let's say, gone out of the government's control. Let's say they even had good intentions. They projected forward from what they had recently had in the past, and it looked good. But something untoward has come along, and the future now doesn't look as rosy as...
Yeah, I don't know exactly what he's talking about there, but you know what came along? Ronald Reagan came along and gave away the store. to the richest people in the world. Oh, come on, video. Come on, YouTube.
And it looked good. But something untoward has come along, and the future now doesn't look as rosy as it did. So they've retired to the golf course, pretty happy that they did the honourable thing. They went conning the people, but unfortunately...
Yeah, they were conning the people. So he's talking about the politicians who made this mess and then, walked off to go play golf. Yeah, I don't even know what he's saying there. I mean, I don't know how relevant that is to anything.
The masses now are stuck without what they expected to have.
And the masses aren't really stuck. They're only stuck because of people like you. You are the fucking problem. You're the disease, okay? We get rid of you diseased fucktards who think there really is a problem, and we don't have a problem. Our only problem is that you assholes think that we have to worry about the 3% of the human race who wants to be an insanely gluttonous, power-hungry, crazy fuck. So if we don't worry about that stupid, lousy, crappy 3%, the 97% can do just fucking fine.
There's going to be an awful lot of poverty. But there are a lot of people that aren't like Ella, who has wanted to redistribute has wanted to redistribute.
Redistribute. Just create the fairness, okay? Just this is the other line they play. They play this redistribution thing like all redistribution is the same. Like every asshole who says the word, or every person, is saying, yes, take all the money from the rich, all of it, and give all of it to poor people who don't work. I mean, that's the canard of the whole fucking thing. Right? And they just ignore the more rational argument that says, let's just take the preposterous excess, the money for nothing crap, the legacy shit, okay? Let's take that and give it to workers, people who work and are productive. Let's create incentive carrots for workers to do more work instead of paying a bunch of assholes to do nothing. It's welfare. Let's get rid of this fucking wealthy man welfare bullshit.
The rich's wealth. For a long time, but there are a lot of people just coming to this now and saying, well, if the government hasn't got the money to give me what I expected, go and get it from somewhere else. And I'm not going to say whether that's fair or not, because I'm not too into this whole fairness thing.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, that I could just play that over and over, right? Maybe that's what I'll do in every video. I'll play that as my opening. Why should somebody even engage in somebody who's not really into this fairness thing? Is there some other fucking point to it? Is there some other goal to achieve? Is there something else of merit to talk about besides fucking fairness? What the fuck else is there? There is nothing else. It's all there fucking goddamn is.
Having governments force fairness on populations.
The horror, right? I mean, oh my God, the government enforced fairness. And that's really not even what he's arguing, right? Because he doesn't think it's a fairness issue. What the hell happened? I guess the browser crashed. I don't know how it did that, so I have to reload it, sorry. Don't know what the fuck that was.
Hello, YouTube, and...
See where he is now.
But there are a lot of people that aren't like Ella, who has wanted to redistribute, populations. I just ask you to understand that I'd say Ella can hold her head up and say, I've always wanted to redistribute the rich's money.
Yeah, again, it's a nice play with words, but to somebody with any kind of real intelligence, does redistribute really answer the question of I want to prevent preposterous head starts in a game of merit? A free ride. I want to redistribute the free ride, the advantage, the unfair advantage. I mean, this isn't about redistributing by taking. This is about redistributing by preventing the taking. from saying, no, you're not going to sit there and take an advantage. You're going to have to play by the game rules. You're going to have to be, your piece isn't going to have some automatic special powers.
But there are an awful lot of people out there that just have this as their new idea because they are not getting what they expected. So,
well, whatever. You want to start arguing the character of people's beliefs and the depth of their understanding and all that crap. Yeah, there's some people that go whichever way the wind is blowing, and whatever war is on, they'll just pick a side and pick up their pitchfork and run. So yeah, and there's lots of these I don't know what you would call them. I mean, they were Reagan Democrats, right? They sold out the '60s, for their disco and their tax cuts, and yeah, now things, when they were part of a union and did that because they thought they could play both sides of the street. Oh yeah, I can be a union member and a capitalist. Yeah, so those hypocrites, that hypocrisy has come home to roost, and now they're, oh yeah, maybe that wasn't such a good idea after all. I basically sold myself into slavery. Oh yeah, that was kind of dumb.
they're just telling the government, well, go and get it off somebody who has got it. And even as a country example, we've got a bit of that going on in Europe. Greece has been profligate and isn't going to get what they expected. Ireland have made, it's not the people of Ireland, but I'm grouping it all together, made a big bet that didn't come off. Portugal just haven't cut the mustard, and Spain and Italy, compared to the northern Europeans, just haven't really worked as well.
Yeah, well, look, I mean, that's a whole different argument, isn't it? I mean, that's kind of a complex situation. You took a bunch of countries in very different positions from the very start, and you all decided to be a commune. And so, yeah, but you didn't really work it out. You didn't work out how you were all going to become equal in the end, and how it would all function. You just kind of said, no, we'll just sit there and slop it together. And so, yeah, there's people there who, are drug addicts, and there's alcoholics, and there's all kinds of people, and they're just not functional or useful. And so there's going to be inequity built into it. And if there's no structure to undo the inequities, then yeah, it's not going to succeed. But it's not a commentary on anything but the premise itself, which was maybe too ambitious. Maybe they should have moved forward more in smaller steps.
Haven't worked as hard, haven't saved as much, haven't crafted as much. They've been more, well, okay.
Yeah, well, let's be honest, though. They started off in the game with less, okay? So the Germans already had the investment capital and the booming economy, so they already had an advantage as a player. And that's just the way it is. So, I mean, there's no point in arguing when they didn't come into they didn't start the game in the same position. So again, it's another argument from, well, if you didn't start from the same position, how can you possibly come to the same end unless you have some mechanism to make that happen? And there was no mechanism to make that happen.
But now things are going rotten from them. They want to They want to create the club that they joined into a slightly different club than the club that they did join. They now want it to be a club where, if things go wrong with them, they want to use the money of the Germans, who did do the crafting and the grafting. And the German people are saying, "Nein, I don't think this is bloody very fair."
So here you use the word fair there, so you have a concept of it now. You're saying that the bummier countries have been unfair in their participation and now unfair in their expectations of security that was to be gained through this union. So now you have a concept of fair. So I guess you'll only have the concept of fair when you have some welfare bum to point your finger at. That's the only time fairness comes into the game. And when it's the obnoxious, obscenely assholish, elitist, classist, racist, speciest assholes, they're all okay. They don't have to be. The same finger of judgment and pointing never has to be directed at them because they're better. Fuck you.
It's all very, very difficult.
It's all very, very simple. It really isn't that complicated. It's just a game. And so you engineer the game to have the results you want, which is this idea of maximize productivity and maximize comfort. These are the two things you're after: is human comfort and productivity. So you just maximize the game so you produce the most of that. And you're not going to be producing the most of that if you're, you know, starving half the population to polish toenails on 1% of the population.
We want everybody to have what they want. I mean, it's a normal thing that we want people to be happy.
Yeah, but we don't fix the problems though. So we want people to be happy, but we also want people to earn their way. We don't want them to be just leeches, and so we've created this policy where we basically encourage people to be leeches. We pay them to have kids that they can't afford, that they don't have any intention to take care of, that they're not going to educate, that they're not going to do their health care, they're not going to pay any price for having them. So what's the fucking point of that? That's really fucking dumb. Not any price, but they're not going to pay the real toll for their reproductive choices. And if we fix those things, then that's a huge inequity we take out of the system. Then there's less gripe. And then we can talk about principle instead of making it look like there's just a bunch of little leeches trying to steal from the rich.
But there are just times where life just ain't fair. Not all people can be happy.
Well, see, this isn't one of those times. We can make this fair. It's not that complicated. You pay people to do work. You don't pay people to sit on their ass. And when you have a tax system, you proportionately you untax work and you overtax leisure. It's not that complicated. You tax the thing you don't want people to do, and you untax the thing you do want people to do. That's not that complicated. It really isn't. No big, hard intellectual obstacles to figuring out that basic scenario. You pay people for merit. You don't pay people for vice and excess and gluttony. And you certainly don't do anything based on something stupid like, genetics. I mean, or other kinds of fucked-hearted bigotries. Yeah, you make it a concept of earning. And respect, equal respect to start with. Even though people aren't in equal positions, they can be afforded an equal respect for their position. Let's see what else. There was another point I wanted to make. Damn. Well, I'll have to get to it next time.
And if push comes to shove, who should have the happiness? Then it should be the people that have crafted and grafted for it.
Grafted. Now, why should grafters have any? Why should they be allowed to have any of it? I don't understand that at all. The crafters, I get. Yeah, we should give the money to the crafters. But yeah, we shouldn't be giving it to the grafters. I mean, that's really dumb. I mean, that's just saying give it to the crooks, give it to the thieves, people who have honestly thieved for it. Does that make any sense? I don't think that does. Yeah, no, I think that's pretty idiotic, actually.
Should it not? Leave it there. Bye.
Yeah, leave it there. Again, so, yeah, but really, it's not a word that's outside of his grasp, the word fairness. I think he can understand the word, and so he's just playing word games, is what he's doing. So he's just being a propagandist, a typical politician. He's not going to take any real responsibility for proposals that are out there. I mean, what of it, Nick? I mean, we could start tomorrow investing in public companies. I would buy from a public company because I know there's no yachts, no Lear jets, no polish of toenails going on. There's just people. Some of them might suck, but they have to show up for work and do work and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, I'm all for that. Okay, even some waste, I'm for, as long as the waste is going into the pocket of a person who's going to work every day. He doesn't have to be even that effective, but the fact that he has to get up and go there, I'm going to reward him for that. More than I'm going to reward some asshole who says I inherited from granddaddy ownership of this entire system and am entitled to a huge lavish lifestyle based on it. And I will go out into the world and I will, with my IOU monies, purchase all kinds of things, all manner of things, and cause them to inflate in value preposterously. and make them less and less possible for somebody to own their own car or own their own house anymore, because I will claim ownership to all of it. And that's the system you've advocated, and it's a dumb game. It's a game that has no, that's not reasonably broken. It's unreasonably broken. It's easily fixed, and you keep wanting to imply that no, it's way too complicated, way too difficult. We can't. Oh no, we can't have honest politicians. We can't force people to be honest, even though there's a polygraph test and there's other mechanisms that could be helpful. No, we won't apply any of that. No, 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 no. You know. And again, you know, the political system is another argument, but we can fix the politics. We can have representatives. We can have poor men in our government. You know, we just got to get rid of the political parties, and that game is on. So anyway, really poor show. Really, really poor show. Really poor. Anyway, till next time. Yeah, I'm going to post on the website. Maybe I'll just post a link to it here. Leave that the only place I'll link to it. So I'm doing. I'm trying. I made a video as I was going to sleep. So it's just a video of me rambling as I went to sleep, talking about. Because I was going to make this video last night, and I was just too tired. So I just talked a little bit on this subject as I was going to sleep. So I'll just post the audio file of that. I would have posted the video, but it was just too dark, and so there's no real point in posting the video because you really can't see anything. So anyway, till next time. So I'll post a link to the audio file below. Yeah, I don't know how I'll link them on the website. I have to think about that. So anyway, so if you went this far, then the little bonus of another 25 minutes you can waste. You know, anyway, till next time.